Hello, my name is Armando Wicochea, and I'm going to present you the different types of bond we saw in this semester on chemistry class. First, we need to understand what a chemical bond is. A chemical bond is basically a force that can hold atoms together. In the right side, we can see an example of a chemical bond and how it sees. There are different types of chemical bonds. We are going to see three. But first, we need to understand another concept, the valence electrons. What is a valence electron? A valence electron is an electron in layer of atom, and they are the responsible of the different types of bonds between atoms. How we can see the valence electrons and we can know how many valence electrons an element have? Well, very easy. The valence electrons are determined by these Roman numbers in the upper part of the periodic table. The elements in the same group, they share the same quantity of valence electron. For example, the hydrogen and the lithium and the beryllium and the magnesium. They all share the same amount of valence electrons. And that's how we determine the valence electrons. And now let's see the first type of bond we're going to see. First, we're going to see the covalent bond. The covalent bond is the bond formed between non-metallic atoms. The non-metal atoms cannot win or share, no, cannot gain or win electrons in a bond. They only share, and what they share are the valence electrons. And we can see an example of the hydrogen atoms and how they share the hydrogen. And finally, we can see the hydrogen molecule. And the covalent bond is divided in two, the polar and non-polar covalent bond. Okay, it's very simple to identify them because the non-polar covalent bond is the covalent bond that is formed by the same atoms. We can see here, for example, here we have two chlorides, and the polar covalent bond is the bond that have different atoms. Like here we have an hydrogen, and finally we have a chloride. So basically, the non-polar covalent bond is the bonding between electrons that share equally two atoms. They have no charge in the atoms. And the polar covalent bond is the bonding of electrons share unequally between two atoms and partial shares on atoms. And finally, we have the ionic bond. Basically, the ionic bond is the bond formed by one metal and one non-metal element. We can see how the ionic bond is the complete transfer of one or more valence electrons. The full charge or resulting ions. We can see the example of the ionic bond. We have a sodium and a chloride, and they have a positive and negative charge in the bond. Also, we can see here how is divided how are divided the different types of bonds. Here we can see there exists the metal and non-metal elements, the non-metal and non-metal, metalloid and non-metal. Basically, these two this is the covalent bond, this is the ionic bond. And these are the two types of elements that exist in the periodic table and the most common use when we make bonding. And that's basically everything. Also, another data important to remember is that when two different non-metallic atoms share electrons unequally, one side of the bond becomes more negative than the other. So if we share two non-metal, but we make a bond of two non-metal, and we share the electrons unequally, one side of the bond is becoming more negative than the other. And that's basically everything. Thanks for seeing my video. I hope that you understand better what the covalent bond is, what is the ionic bond, and the different types of bond that we saw. and also what are the valence electrons and why and how to find them. Thank you.